Alright. So this happened at my best friend's house back in 2003, we were 14 at the time. The memory is still quite vivid in my mind, as it is in his, from what he tells me. Best brothers, edgy metalheads. Always get together on weekends to watch some horror movies, most of them slasher/gory B titles from the 80s. We'd stay awake till late in the night watching these movies. We'd usually watch as many as 6 or 7 in a row. We were night owls, so none of us would sleep before the sun's rising. On one particular Saturday, we decide we want something else other than these gory movies only, so we go for something a little bit spookier and less bloody. With the exception of Evil Dead, I can't really remember what movies we ended picking up. They were mostly generic, trashy, no-name 80s horror movies. So we get our hands on said movies, go to his house, order our pizzas and start binge-watching those bad boys. So because it's such a classic, we start by watching Evil Dead. Once it comes to an end, we start randomly picking the next ones. Watch another one. And another. This is quite boring. What the fuck, you shithead, these are mostly garbage. Around midnight and I'm already sleepy, which is rather uncommon. Probably because these are garbage. Kind of getting mad at friend because of his poor choice of movies. Even though we decided together which ones we'd watch that day, they were most his recommendations. He says he's also pissed at his own failure. So he suggests we just try some good old Jason. But the only one he has available is Jason X. Whatever mate, let's watch it. Now, I didn't mention it previously, but this takes place in a third world shithole, so back then we were still using VCRs. Watching dat Jason X. Jason smack that blonde bitch's head like you mean it, you go girl. It's probably around 1 AM or something by now. See/hear friend snoring. The fuck? When did this bitch fall asleep? But realize that I've been feeling pretty sleepy during the last few minutes too. I'm quite comfy this spot I find myself in. Sort of cold today. Maybe if I just get some shut-eye. Sleep. Wake up, wake up. Look at clock. Not much time has passed since I went to sleep. It's 1:40 something by now. Friend is glued in front of the screen. He quickly notices I woke up. Look. Guy is basically screaming. Look at this shit. What the fuck is this? Approach TV. Vision still kinda blurry. I don't see anything, mate. Just look, he insists. So I fix my eyes on the TV. Start to notice that there's actually something in there. Other than static, I mean. But why the fuck is there static? Jason should still be playing. Realize there's something weird now. Keep looking at the TV. Static seems to be forming into something. Little by little it starts to resemble a fucking face. We just look at each other dumbfounded and not sure what to do. This face is pretty distorted and among the static, so can't see it quite well. It seems to have pitch black eyes. No nose. It's definitely a fucking face though. It's opening its mouth. Mouth has pointy teeth and it looks like it's screaming, but no sound comes out of it. Pretty fucking spooked by now. Friend says fuck it and decides to turn off the TV. Static. Static. Face getting more discernible. GIF related is sort of what it looks like by now. A strange, faint and raspy sound seems to be emitting from TV. Friend goes in and presses the TV's power on/off button. Nothing happens. What? Maybe the button is fucked. Try the remote. Try the power on off button on the remote. Nothing happens. Think he's somehow fucking with me. Tell him to go fuck himself for being a hag and put myself up to the task. Press the eject button on the VCR. Tape won't come out. You want mate.jpg. Calls me a hag for not believing him. I go behind the TV. Unplug the TV's cable from the outlet. Makes the turning off noise. But the static and face continue on screen. We just sit there looking at each other and looking at it without knowing what to do. Another 4 or 5 minutes go by, no one says a word. Suddenly screen goes completely black. No static, no face anymore. Go on and press the eject button on the VCR. It works now. Tape comes out. Insert tape again, turn TV on again, maybe there was something fucked with the tape? Try playing it. It plays normally. Fast forward to the end. Nothing unusual. What the fuck just happened? We just sit there not knowing what to do for another good hour or so. Don't remember exactly what we told each other to feel better about ourselves, but we end up going to sleep not long after the event. Anticlimactic and for sure, but that's that for the day. A few months later, I got my first computer and went on the internet, shitty dial-up at the time, and started looking for possible answers. I ended up finding something called instrumental transcommunication, which seems to be what we experienced. It's in the category of EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. The term instrumental transcommunication, ITC, was coined by Ernst Senkowski in the 1970s to refer more generally to communication through any sort of electronic device such as tape recorders, fax machines, television sets or computers between spirits or other discarnate entities and the living. In 1997, Ernst Barus, of the Department of Psychology at the University of Western Ontario, conducted a series of experiments using the methods of EVP investigator Konstantin Raudive, and the work of instrumental transcommunication researcher Mark Macy, as a guide. A radio was tuned to an empty frequency, and over 81 sessions a total of 60 hours and 11 minutes of recordings were collected. During recordings, a person either sat in silence or attempted to make verbal contact with potential sources of EVP. Barus stated that he did record several events that sounded like voices, but they were too few and too random to represent viable data and too open to interpretation to be described definitively as EVP. This is my story.